Hi, my name is Troy Green. In today's video we're going to cover a few things. The first is how to install MySQL Server on Linux operating system, Ubuntu 12.04. The second is how you can connect remotely to MySQL database using a SQL editor tool. In this case, we're using a tool called Toad DataPoint. There's a beta version online that you can install. Please keep in mind though that the beta version is really for educational learning purposes, not designed for production environment. Before we get started, there are a few assumptions that I need to put out there. The first is that you've already installed some type of SQL editor tool. In this case, it's Toad DataPoint. The second is that you've already established and built a Linux operating system on Ubuntu 12.04. The third is you have not installed MySQL Server. So let's get started. I'm going to log into the Linux operating system using PuTTY because I'm on Windows. Keep in mind that the username and password you have could be completely different than the username and password I have. So let's log in. Another footnote real quickly is that this video is not designed to show you how to create a very secure environment. This is just a down and dirty, quick way to create a MySQL database and then connect remotely using a SQL editor tool. Alright, so the first thing you need to do is type in sudo space apt-get space update. So it's going to look at all the packages you've installed on your operating system to see if there's any updates that need to be made. The next thing we're going to do is install MySQL Server. So type in sudo space apt-get space install space MySQL server and hit enter. I'm not going to go through what this first prompt is, but it's asking if we want to continue. Type in Y and hit enter. The next thing is creating a password for your SQL Server, and type in a password that you can remember and hit enter. Retype it once more and hit enter. It's going to continue the installation process. It shouldn't take too long. I don't have any music to entertain you before it's complete. Alright, it should be almost about done. The next thing we're going to do is open up the configuration file for MySQL Server. So type in sudo space nano space slash etc slash MySQL slash my.cnf, which is the config file, and hit enter. I'm going to use my down arrow on the keyboard to scroll down in this file to a line that starts with bind address. The bind address value is an IP address, and I'm going to replace the IP address on this line. You can see I'm on the bind address line, and replace it with the IP address of the Linux operating system you've built. So I've copied that from my computer, and I'm going to paste using the right click on my mouse. Once you've typed in the IP address, press Ctrl X and type in Y. It's asking if you want to save changes. Type in Y and hit enter. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to restart MySQL Server. So type in slash etc slash init.d slash MySQL space restart and hit enter. It's restarting the server. Alright, next thing we're going to do is we're going to log into MySQL Server. So type in MySQL space -u, which is the user. In this case, the user is root. It could be different for your system. So type in root or your username space -p, which is the password created a few minutes ago, and hit enter. Now type in the password you created. Okay, you can see that we're in MySQL now. The next thing we're going to do is create a database. And so type in create space database space, and then we're going to name the database, and it's called MyDB. So type in create space database space MyDB semicolon and hit enter. Alright, we just created a new database. The next thing we're going to do is create a new user. So the user of this database is going to be called TechRocks. So type in create space user space apostrophe TechRocks apostrophe at apostrophe %, apostrophe space identified space by space apostrophe. Now we need to create a password for this user, and let's make the password TechRocks123. So type in TechRocks123 apostrophe semicolon and hit enter. So we just created a new user. The username is TechRocks, and we also added a password for this user. The next step is granting privileges for this user to the MyDB database. So type in grant space all space privileges space on MyDB, which is the database we created, dot asterisk space to space apostrophe TechRocks, which is our username, at apostrophe %, apostrophe semicolon, hit enter. So we just granted all privileges for the MyDB database for TechRocks, which is the user. Alright, so we're going to flush all privileges. Type in flush space privileges semicolon, hit enter. Now exit MySQL. Okay, so the next step, I'm actually going to post on the video. It's a long line of text, and it needs to be exact, including case-sensitive information. So I'm going to copy that line of code I'm going to paste online and paste it in here. And it's basically telling you how to open up the port for the MySQL server in an outside environment. So I'm copying that line of text, which you will get on the website, and right-click with my mouse, and I'm going to hit enter. So it's basically opening up port 3306, which is the port where MySQL Server has been installed. The next thing we're going to do is test to make sure that we've opened up that port so somebody can connect remotely to MySQL database. So type in MySQL space -u, which is a user. In this case, the user we created to get access for MyDB is TechRocks. So type in TechRocks space -h space, and then we're going to take the IP address that we have for the Linux operating system, which I'm copying right now. Yours will be totally different, and it is going to be. And paste that IP address. Once you paste the IP address, press space and -p, which is the password. So it's going to prompt you now for, oops, you know what, I noticed that I typed in the wrong username. So let me get out of that really quick. So let me type in MySQL space -u space TechRocks space -i space, and then your IP address space -p, which is the password. So we're redoing this step because I mistyped TechRocks, the user. So hit enter. Now prompting you for the password of TechRocks. So type in the password we created, which is TechRocks123, and hit enter. If you don't see any errors and you see a MySQL line, that means that we can connect remotely to this database, which is awesome. So the next step is going into your SQL editor tool. Okay. In this case, it's Toad Data Point, the beta version, and again, the beta version is for educational learning purposes, not production environment. So you can see here the interface for Toad Data Point. Actually, I've been trying to create this video this morning. It's taken a little bit of time, so I'm going to delete the connection for this IP address really quick. So bear with me here. Hold on. Okay, so I actually removed the old connection, and here is the code data point beta version, and I hid, there's a navigation window on the left-hand side, and it shows all the connections that you have, and it's really cool because you can connect to different databases and different operating systems all in one user interface. So I hid it because I have a lot of different projects I'm working on. I don't want you to know my username and my IP addresses, but in the top left-hand corner, there's an icon that's got like a plugin outlet, and if you move your mouse cursor over, it will say create a new connection. So click on that button, and then a new window will pop up, and this is asking you what type of database you want to connect to. In this case, we've created a MySQL database. So click on the MySQL. And now it's asking for your host. The host is your IP address where you have your Linux operating system. So get that the IP address, type that in. Once you're done, now we're going to type in the name of the user we created to connect remotely. In this case, it's TechRocks. And then we're going to type in the password for TechRocks, which is TechRocks123. So let's type that in. And then the name of the database, which is MyDB. And leave the port at 3306, which is the port number we've installed and opened up for MySQL Server. And click Connect at the bottom. Alright, you're good to go. If you get errors, then you've connected remotely to MySQL database on Linux operating system. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. My email address is troy@datavizgeek.com. Thanks for your time. Take care.